Hey everybody, welcome back to the NC State Insider Podcast. I'm your host, Tucker Sennett, your NC State Wolfpack on SI beat writer, lead beat writer, that is. Another big day for the Wolfpack football season. Today they had some post-practice media availability where we got to talk to some of the guys as they steam towards the 2025 season getting underway. We're still a few weeks away, but inching all a little bit closer every day to that rematch against East Carolina that I think everybody's really looking forward to within the Wolfpack fan base and program. They want to get the stain of that loss out of the way as soon as possible. But yeah, I'll just run through some of the takeaways. Obviously, the anybody familiar with the NC State program knows the media does not get to watch practices, so all we get are players following practice, and just their raw thoughts after they're done with the for the day. So today, some takeaways. The defensive back room for this NC State team is a position group that's particularly intriguing. This is a group that has a few exciting and interesting key players. Brian Nelson the second, Jackson Vick, Jaren Sensabaugh, all important guys. But the sort of the alpha of this group, and the player that we got to talk to today, Devon Marshall, is coming back for a big year. He seems to have a particular edge going into this 2025 season. Um, Sort of to dive into that edge, you have to go back and look at this group last season. This group was not amongst the elite in the ACC. They were towards the bottom of the pack. They finished 11th in the conference in interceptions for 2024. Didn't turn the ball over a lot. That's typically never a good thing for a defense that struggled. And this was a defense that allowed the 14th worst yards per game mark in 2024, ahead of some really dismal teams from a year ago. UVA was not good. Stanford really poor, and Wake Forest obviously was a little bit of a disaster a year ago. So those were the only teams that finished behind NC State in yards allowed per game. Those defensive stats in the ACC. Obviously, nationally there's a lot of FBS teams, and NC State didn't finish very high nationally either, but more, reasonable. So it's pretty remarkable given those stats that they were able to win as many games as they did, given this defense really struggled, and just couldn't really stop anybody. But some key guys, including Marshall, are back, and also some transfers came in that have sort of shaken things up in this defensive back room. And you have new coaches. We've talked a little bit about new defensive coordinator DJ Elliott and co-defensive coordinator and safeties coach Charlton Warren, who are bringing a little bit more of an edge to this defense, a little more physicality and competition. So those are all things to look forward to. In listening to Marshall today, this is a player who's sort of embraced a leadership role, that he earned in a lot of ways. This was a guy who didn't start last year and sort of worked his way up the depth chart, and now seems poised to be a really important part of this NC State defense. Um, he got credit from a wide receiver that we talked to today, Keenan Jackson, sophomore, who's also sort of had to grow up fast in this sort of NC State rapid rebuild, and all signs point to Marshall being just kind of a menace out there for this NC State defense. Um, that brings me to the next point, which is both Marshall and Jackson. both sort of alluded to an ongoing battle of sorts. Obviously, these guys practice against each other every day, so they're gonna be battling and competing every day. But it seems like there's some fire behind the rivalry between the defensive backs and the wide receivers on the practice field. You know, these are two positions that are lining up against each other a lot, so it's not surprising that there's going to be a little bit of fire. And they it's clear that these are these are two groups that don't love each other on the football field. Um, that battle sort of came up in questions. Keenan Jackson thinks that that competition is sort of helping this younger group of wide receivers improve over the course of camp. Whereas Marshall is pretty honest. He thinks that the defensive backs are winning this battle pretty confidently. He's confident in his group of guys, and maybe not what the NC State coaching staff wants to hear, getting leaked to the public that their wide receivers are having trouble. But at the same time, it's a good sign for a defensive back group that really struggled a year ago, as I've said. Jackson thinks that this is including himself and something he worked on a lot was versatility, and that his versatility will go a long way in improving the group. Whether that's, being able to line up inside, outside. Uh, This is a group that's going to need to basically step up and help Hollywood Smothers at running back and Justin Jolie at tight end, and provide some production that wasn't really there for a sophomore quarterback in CJ Bailey that's looking to kind of take a leap this season. It sounds like the receivers did win one battle today, which was mentioned by Jackson. Apparently, Noah Rogers, who's poised to be sort of the go-to X receiver this year, caught a nice deep fade touchdown from Bailey. That was sort of the talk of practice amongst the receiver group. Good sign that those two are apparently forming a little bit of a connection that could go a long way and improve this offense that's looking to take more advantage of its skill position players than it did a year ago. The other thing that seemed obvious in talking to the four players that we did today, um, the culture around this program, at least in their opinion, seems to be healthy, and for the guys that were here last year, it seems to be improved, which is important. Jackson mentioned that the fall camp schedule has been a huge bonus for him personally. He thinks it's a better fit, and the locker room vibes are better. Marshall and Jackson are battling on the field a lot, and then their lockers, Jackson said, are kind of across from each other, so they're right back to being buddies and sort of enjoying each other's company right after they're trying to take each other down on the practice field. And I think one thing that was interesting talking to the other two players, offensive lineman Teague Anderson, who transferred in from Utah State, and defensive end Sebastian Harsh, who transferred in from Wyoming. There's some Mountain West connections on this team, and I think Anderson mentioned that they sort of have a Mountain West group um, that's sort of become tight, and you got two coordinators and position coaches with Mountain West experience, and Elliott and Charlton Warren, and these guys. It's in an era where players are moving a lot. Any sort of connections or continuity you can find can go a long way. I mean, these some of the hype around Clemson is that that's a team that many people were sort of making fun of because Dabo Swinney's so against the transfer portal. And now, after Florida State's collapse last year, bringing in all those transfers who didn't pan out, it was a disaster. There's something valuable about finding a healthy balance in how many transfers you bring in, the chemistry that they can build in that short period of time before the season, and whether they fit with the hopefully retained players that you have. And it seems like NC State has a healthier balance, maybe not a perfect balance like some schools have this season. Clemson, for example, has apparently an incredible returning class and has mixed in some valuable transfers. So they've obviously been getting a lot of hype. The um, the other takeaway was the offensive line is seems to be gelling relatively well. Likely a group that will sort of decide the season in a lot of ways because if they can keep CJ Bailey upright, he could be poised for a much improved season compared to his freshman year. Anderson did mention that Sebastian Harsh is a little bit of a menace against them. He's bringing the heat in practice every day and sort of a exhausting guy to go against, which is a good sign for again an NC State defense that's looking to improve. Um, that's kind of the main points that we got today. Obviously, not everything, but more updates to come. Hopefully, some more different players tomorrow. And it's an exciting time. We're again just a few weeks from this season. Looking forward to talking more Wolfpack football with you all tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in. Follow Wolfpack on SI on X and follow my Twitter account at Senate Tucker on X as well for all your Wolfpack news. Thanks again.